Yeah, I am. Hi, how are you guys? Thank you for tuning in. And this is the September 2020 Tarot forecast for the sign of Aquarius. So if you have a sun, moon, or rising in the sign of Aquarius or heavily placed planets in Aquarius, you may want to watch this. It might give you an insight into what you might be experiencing for the month of September of 2020. This is a broad spectrum reading, so therefore it is intended for a lot of people. So you have to take what I say and sort of figure out where to place it in your life. You also have to be responsible for any decisions that you make after having viewed this information. So, take what you need and leave the rest, so to speak. If you are somebody that's cross-watching for an Aquarius, welcome. You're totally allowed to be here and sort of, cyberstalk your Aquarius loved one. Please share this video out if you feel so inclined. If you enjoyed it, also hit the thumbs up button. Follow me at all my social media stuff, either on YouTube or Facebook. And that's pretty much it. Let's get into it. The first card that I'm doing is from the Wisdom of Avalon Oracle by Colette Baron Reid. And the reason why I chose this deck for the air signs is because it's the Wisdom of Avalon. To me, that felt kind of like an airy well, first off, they utilize the word wisdom in the title, which to me is the intellect in this element of air, but also Avalon also kind of feels like a sort of air-centric place, if that makes any sense at all. So I kind of felt like it was a good fit. So this will be sort of like your guide, your psychic Sherpa, whatever you want to call it, Aquarius, for the month of September. Take it as you will. As we see the tarot cards, we'll know kind of how to better place this. So let's see, what do my Aquarians need to know? What is going to be their card for the month of September 2020? Alright, so we have focus! Focus, god damn it! Alright, oh, this is card number 33. That's a master number. Ain't no messing with the Aquarians. So to me, I like this, just the first thing I'm going to say really quick is that the path is relatively clear, but there's a lot of trees in the way, right, in this picture. So to me, it feels like Aquarius needs to keep their focus, even if there is sort of distractions going on in the month of September. I don't feel like the distractions are going to be that major, but I feel like and I'm just going off of what I'm sort of getting from the artwork first before reading the definition from the book. It's kind of like that sort of idea that we need to keep our focus so that we can stay on the path, stay working towards our goals. Don't get sidetracked, Aquarians. Try not to let other people sort of pull your attention. The number 33 that's up here in the corner of this card makes me feel like this is a significant thing that we could be working on, a significant sort of focus or attention that we need to sort of keep in place, because it might lead to sort of bigger and better things, higher purpose outcomes, that kind of a thing, right? I like that this is card number 33. I also like that it feels like we are directed, or we are trying to work our way towards something in the month of September. Excuse me, I need a sip of water. Is there going to be distractions? I kind of feel like there could be, for sure. That's sort of the forest that we have here. But there's like also a clearing beyond that. And so that makes me think that, as long as we keep focused, we'll get to a place where we can rest. If we feel like, I don't feel like there's a huge struggle, but it might be a little bit distracting, right? So we can then rest in this kind of field before we take on the next part of the journey, which is the forest beyond that, right? So let me read focus to you really quick, just because I didn't do that correctly for the, who's that other air sign bitch that we just did? Oh, Libra, for Libra. Yeah, her, you know how she is. Anyways, I'm just kidding. All right, so card number 33, focus. It is time to draw your energies inward. Let go of all things that are superfluous and unnecessary at this time. Focus your attention on the job ahead. Do what is in front of you, no matter how small the task. Clear focus is required. Be mindful to stay in the present. Avoid looking back or too far forward, or Yeah, too far forward. For it is only in staying in the true present, the now, that the power residing in this sacred journey marker can be used for the benefit of all. Now, that to me would be that number 33 for sure. Your path is marked with the need to regroup and remind yourself of your goal. Then stay in the present time and do what is directly in front of you. Only one small focused step at a time will place you at your destination. Okay, so that's good. So we are working towards something this month. Maintaining focus and keeping that focus sort of regardless of the distractions that may come up is going to be key and important. And I feel like with that number 33, that the more focus we maintain or the more attention that we give to whatever projects are on our plate in the month of September, the bigger the outcome, the bigger the payoff, that sort of a thing. So let's see here what's going on with the tarot cards. What do the Aquarians need to know for September of 2020? And after I do this Aquarius reading, guys, just so you know, for those of you that are looking for Gemini, Gemini will be next. Tomorrow will be the fire signs. No, because we had Leo season last month. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so this first card is where my Aquarians are going to be centered at during the month. It won't be like the entirety of the month, but in and out of this card, you kind of will find yourself throughout the month of September. So this is the Nine of Swords. Not the best card for you guys to sort of have, but I am going to say this. It is your home air element, so that's a good thing. The Nine of Swords is usually like the nightmare card. It can be sort of lies, dreams, nightmares, things that haunt us. This inability to sort of get to where we want to go. I do like that she appears to be reaching out towards the future in that card, and I feel like this card actually pairs well with this focus card in the sense that we need to stay in the now, not in the worry of the future, right? Or say in the worry of the past even, right? If there's been mistakes that we've made leading up to this point, or experiences that kind of stimulate in us, past experiences that stimulate in us any sort of fear, worry during the month of September, we kind of want to not give it any credence. I do get a feeling with this Nine of Swords that my Aquarians, if you are worrying, you're trying to do it from a place of keeping yourself safe, but I don't necessarily know that the safety that you're trying to maintain through worry, fear, that sort of thing, is going to pay off, right? To me, the focus card is telling us stay in the now, stay on the path, keep our attention here. This Nine of Swords looks a little bit like she's kind of a little bit focused on, oh my God, what if, or when will this happen, or how do I get over there, that kind of a thing. And I think we might be putting sort of the cart before the horse, so to speak, in some ways. I do think that we can get there as long as we bring ourselves into the now and focus on, like the focus card said, what's right in front of us. We'll have the power and the capacity to get there. Nines also represent sort of this personal completion aspect before we hit card number 10 in the tarot, which is sort of like the completion of the chapter for everything, like ourselves and those around us included. So when I look at this Nine of Swords, this could be Aquarians coming into terms with where we undermine ourselves, where our fear, our worry, our doubt gets in our way. And we have to sometimes have that come up for us enough so that it becomes really obvious that we start to see that, oh, this doesn't serve me anymore. This is not working for me, right? And if I want to get there, if that's my desired goal, then I need to be as kind of centered and as solid in the now as possible. So when I look at this Nine of Swords, it feels like we might be coming to an end in the month of September with any sort of worry that we might be carrying or doubt fear, that sort of a thing. It may surface a little bit here and there, but the surfacing of it is actually serving a purpose in the long run, because it's going to train us or teach us, like, look, is that really doing me any good? Am I really accomplishing what I need to by sitting in this worry? Is this working for me? And I kind of feel like we might discover in the month of September that it's not. Okay, so the next card is the Foundation card. This is the card that sort of led us to being here. It's the card from the past that kind of led us to being here. It's also the card that kind of pushes things along, or can be the kind of driving factor. The memory of this can be what drives us in the now to doing what we're doing. So this is the Strength card. This is the sign of Leo. This card is associated with the sign of Leo. I like this card as a sort of past. I feel like there was a period, obviously, with Strength being in the past, there was a period where we felt much more in control. We felt much more like able to kind of maybe move our destiny in the direction that we wanted to. Some of this might be due to just sort of the experiences that are going on in the world right now with, pandemics and presidencies and all of this crazy stuff that we don't have any control over. These things might be causing us undue stress or worry. To me, this Strength card feels like there was a time when we felt a little bit more sort of self-assured. There could be a little bit of doubt creeping in for my Aquarians. Not even a little bit, I would say a fair amount actually with that Nine of Swords. But like I said, that 9 brings about this ending. The Strength card, to me, being in the Foundation position, speaks to this idea of wanting to get back to where we once were, right? Wanting to kind of reconnect to that internal strength that we maybe had. And this could have been, I kind of get a feeling that this card isn't like the recent past. I feel like for a lot of you, this is something that maybe was a few years ago, where you felt a little bit more self-assured, you were on your game, you were kind of more of a go-getter is sort of the feeling that I get from this. More sort of dynamic in your life, and you might be lacking that right now, and I don't think that that's a bad thing. And the reason why I say that is because this 33 number on the focus card speaks to this idea that we are working our way back to not necessarily this original strength, but something similar to it, if not better. But we have to trust the process that we're in, right? We have to trust the experiences that we're going through. We have to trust like everything that might have been like, say, a setback or a mishap, or what we deem as a mistake or a poor choice has led us to this point. And instead of beating ourselves up for it, I think that what the focus card is calling out is, okay, we need to work with what we have here. We need to kind of see the forest from the trees, so to speak. Stay on the path, stay aware, understand that we've been in a place of sort of strength or empowerment before. We can get back there. It might be different than what it once was, but the fact that we were there once speaks to this idea that we can get there again, actually probably in a bigger and better way. And we just may not feel like we're there right now. Does that make sense? So to me, we haven't seen all of the cards yet, so we'll kind of determine a little bit more as we get further into the cards. But to me, I feel like this month could be kind of a transitory month for my Aquarians, where you guys are really putting in the work, kind of taking in inventory sort of mentally or emotionally, and looking at what's going on, what's working for you, what's not, where are you doubting, where are you getting in your own way, all in an effort to kind of get back to this place where you once were, that felt a hell of a lot more self-assured and more empowered, right? So let's get into the Spirit or Soul card. This card tells me what your Spirit or Soul wants you to look at during this time. So this is the Knight of Swords. So we have the Nine of Swords as our center, right? Which she's kind of, the goal is she wants to sort of get to this better idea of this future, right? By sort of looking to the past and remembering where we once were is kind of the idea that I get. And then the focus card is asking us to, like, instead of worrying about the future and instead of kind of reflecting back on the past, trying to create that into our future, get into the fucking now. Excuse my language, but That's kind of what it says to me, is get into the now, right? The Knight of Swords to me speaks to this idea that he is sort of more in the now. Knights are always like in service, right? They're always sort of noble in service. They're tended like they have a kind of creed that they live by. They have to do the right thing. And to me, the Knight of Swords is exactly that. It's kind of like being willing to make sort of split-second decisions, but decisions based in honor, right? This is about sort of the spirit wanting us to kind of connect back to our more sort of, knights are also more masculine in nature, so they're not as quite as powerful as kings, but to me it feels like this idea of our spirit saying to us, we have all of the skill set to not only protect ourselves and keep ourselves safe no matter what happens, but we also have this sort of skill set to do what is right in the moment. And I think that we've forgotten that, maybe due to experiences or whatever that has been more recent in our past that led us to this Nine of Swords, right? There's also sort of this aspect to these cards that makes me feel like there might even be situations that are outside of your control. Again, going back to like, I don't know, whatever's going on in the world, if we're paying too much attention to the news, all of that stuff can be really disconcerting. And I think that the Nine of Swords in the center makes us feel like when I look at that Nine of Swords, I'm kind of feeling like the question amongst my Aquarians might be, I really want to be this place in my life, but how do I get there when everything else is falling apart? Right? And so to me, there might be a lack of faith. There might be an excess of worry, right? I do love that this Strength card is in the foundation, which says to me that there was a period, like I said, where you guys felt powerful, in charge, capable. And what this Knight of Swords in the spirit or soul space, the soul position, it speaks to this idea that your soul or your higher self wants you to remember about the sort of nobility, the strength, the servitude that you have within you, that you can sort of serve yourself and your own goals. You can do so successfully. You can do so righteously. You can kind of charge into the future. Do you see how she's reaching into the future sort of in desperation, right? She's like, oh my God, it's outside of my reach. I can't quite get it. But then when we look at him, he's positioned in the same way, yet he's on this horse. He's rearing up and he's raring to go, but he's not necessarily reaching out for anything. He's leading with his sword, right? With like clear, decisive decision making, right? He'll know in the moment how to go into battle, so to speak. And I kind of feel like that's what our soul is reminding us. If we look at this guy, this is also a knight depicted here slaying a dragon, right? This is us from the past. So this is the Knight of Swords that we see here. This is a much bigger, badder ass version of him, right? So we can get back to that, but we have to acknowledge and kind of get into this place of this Knight of Swords, which is this kind of clear thinking, practical, grounded sort of perception of ourselves. Does that make sense? I hope this is making sense to you guys. Instead of being more in the worry and the fear that we see in that Nine of Swords. I do like that you have so much Swords energy happening in the first three cards, because that is all your air element. So this is about Aquarians working on an aspect of themselves that to me feels very much your home element. So it's only going to be to your betterment and your sort of feeling more kind of fulfilled and whole in the end of all of this, even if it is a little bit uncomfortable during the month of September. All right, so the next two cards are what I call the outside influences. These are things that are affecting us either positively or negatively during the month of September. They're not necessarily, they couldn't be people or events. Sometimes they can be things more vague, like belief systems or energies that are having an effect. Okay, so the first one is the Ace of Pentacles. So, beautiful card. To me, the aces always represent new opportunities, things that we didn't see coming, sometimes thinking outside of the box or inspired thinking. This could be an opportunity of new finance, new jobs, new homes, anything that has to do with sort of like the material realm. There could be offers coming in, something that I would suspect we didn't necessarily see coming. To me, it definitely has that surprise aspect with it being an ace card. Let me see here. I also get this distinct feeling, and I don't normally feel this with the aces per se, but to me, this might be an opportunity for my Aquarians that you may not fully understand to be as good of an opportunity as it appears. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense to you guys. And what I mean by that is an ace is a great card, right? But to me, the ace only has one pentacle on it. And I'm somehow getting this weird vibe that, like, my Aquarians, there is a possibility if you guys are in too much fear and thinking too worrisome or too stuck on a certain idea and you're not in this focus energy of kind of being in the present moment, you could miss this sort of the possibility of this new opportunity or this new endeavor, right? Because you're not necessarily seeing it in enough of a sort of maybe a long-term outlook or bigger picture outlook. Ultimately, the Ace of Pentacles is a very beneficial opportunity. It's a new beginning, right? Maybe it's too much work, or it doesn't feel like the payoff will be as immediate enough as you need. But what I think is that you might want to pay attention to this, because this aces are usually really beneficial and good cards, right? But I don't know, for some reason I'm looking at this card and I feel like there's not we're not seeing it. If we're too caught up in how we think something should be in September, or how we think, like, I almost want to say, like, I feel like that Nine of Swords, we have our sights set on one thing, and the Ace of Pentacles comes in as something totally different, and it doesn't look as though it's going to be as fruitful or as good as what we were originally focused on. We might forego it or not pursue it, and I think that might be, I don't want to say a mistake, because nothing is ever a mistake. No matter what you do, Aquarius, you'll be fine, but I think that this Ace of Pentacles has the opportunity to bring about big change if you have a little faith and pursue it. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Let's see what the other outside influence is. Okay, so the other outside influence is the Seven of Wands. And to me, this card in this particular deck always makes me think of business dealings, right? Sevens usually have to do with sort of making, decisions. Sometimes they can be, disagreements, fights, competitions, that sort of a thing. But to me, sevens are always kind of about making the decisions and then bringing about the balance. That you see in the eights. But when I look at this, these two men coming together always feel like a business dealing to me. I don't know why. They always feel like they're hashing out a contract or some sort of a agreement that's being put into place. This is the element of fire. The wand is the element of fire. So this could be something that. Let me just look at this for a minute. This could be something that could bring about challenges, choices that need to be made, decisions that need to come about. I kind of feel like it's almost like the Seven of Wands to me feels like maybe it could be a disagreement or some sort of contract or business deal, that sort of a thing that we might need to get out of, or that we might need to sort of remove ourselves from and go the route of the Ace of Pentacles. Does that make sense? Even though the Ace of Pentacles might not seem quite as exciting, the Seven of Wands to me, Wands being sort of more fire-oriented, spirit-oriented, it might seem like the more exciting gig, but it's not really what it's all that it's cracked up to be. I feel like there's better opportunity in the Ace of Pentacles for my Aquarians, but are my Aquarians going to be able to see that? That's kind of the question that I get from this. Let me just see here. I kind of feel like when I go back to this focus card, right? And I look at this idea of this focus card, and we see all of these trees, and then I see these 7 wands. To me, it feels like the 7 of wands, this thing presents, it might present itself well, but it's not necessarily what it's cracked up to be. Like, and that's where it's sort of the business dealing between these two men. It's like there's some sort of small print thing, there's something that we need to watch out for, there's something that kind of maybe isn't necessarily fully above board. And some of that 9 of Swords energy, or that worry that is in that 9 of Swords, we could be attracting that kind of experience to ourselves if we're not careful. We might want to go the more quieter, grounded sort of way of this Ace of Pentacles, right? Even though it may not feel like the big payoff, or that it might be a little bit slower, a little bit more less exciting, that kind of a thing. But I think that it has, with patience and faith, it has just as much of an opportunity to bring you where you need to be, probably in a much like better way than we even understand. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense, because that's kind of how I want to describe this feeling. It may not be the most like obvious of choices, but it has long-term payoff. Is kind of the feeling that I get when I'm looking at these cards. I just hope that you guys aren't scrambling so much that you can't necessarily see that. That Knight of Swords energy, there's a, up in the soul space, speaks to this idea of, you know, being clear and decisive about your thinking, being strong and empowered, putting yourself, you know, instead of being kind of a victim to your circumstances, getting out in ahead of your circumstances, sort of living with the responsibility of the decisions that you make, and taking on that responsibility wholeheartedly. And this month may be that, when you're choosing between this sort of either Ace of Pentacles or 7 of Wands kind of experience. I get a feeling that the 7 of Wands might look like the better deal originally, or the more faster, quicker way. And you have to place this with whatever you're looking at in the month of September. And these could be anything, right? This could be a relationship, a romantic relationship. Let's say, you know, one is the Ace of Pentacles is a earth sign guy that moves really slow, but he's a nice enough guy, but I'm not super attracted to him yet. The 7 of Wands is a guy that I think is really hot, and we fight a little bit, but you know what, the sex is on fire and I'm into it. Well, you might find if you go the route of the 7 of Wands guy, you could end up like in a real miserable situation, even though the sex was good in the beginning. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? And this could go for jobs, this could go for whatever. So being careful about what you perceive and how you take it on is going to be key in the month of September. Staying present-minded and keeping your focus, and not getting sidetracked or distracted. That's going to be the key for you guys too. All right, so this last card is the potential outcomes card. And what I always say about this card is that it's not set in stone. It is a potential outcome that tells us kind of where things are naturally heading, barring that nothing major changes, right? So this card, if it's negative, we can utilize it as a warning to make choices and changes to avoid this outcome. But if it is something that's good, we can take heart in the fact that we're kind of already on our way towards this coming to be, and so we just kind of continue on moving on through September until we arrive at this card. So let's see what it is. Okay, so we have the 8 of Wands. All right, so I don't mind this card in the sense that I feel like it kind of ties into that 7 of Wands. 8 of Wands to me is fast-moving energy. It's about moving forward. It's about kind of getting where we want to go by the month's end. We might have more of a plan by month's end. To me, it could be the progression of the 7 of Wands, in the sense that we could get all right, I'm going to say this. I don't think this 8 of Wands has anything to do with that 7 of Wands. My direct impression for this, for the Aquarians, is this is about making a smart and equitable choice for yourself in the month of September, and then sticking to that, being responsible for that, and by month's end being willing to communicate that and move forward on this 8 of Wands. right? And when you do, when you kind of do that and you're willing to live with the ramifications of your actions or your choices, the journey kicks off. Does that make sense? It's like we set sort of things into motion, and that's this Eight of Wands is this idea that okay, now things are on fire. Now we can sort of move. Now we have balance. Now we've committed. Let's sort of see how this plays out, and we're going to live with the outcome no matter what it may be. Okay, so to me, it feels like we're going to pick between maybe one option or the other. One might be a little bit more disagreeable than the other, but either way, once we decide on one, we have to decide firmly. That's going to be the safest bet for us, and that firmness comes in that Knight of Swords versus the Nine of Swords. We don't want to be the Nine of Swords where she's all in worry, fear, doubt, all of that kind of crap. We want to be in that more empowered, like tally-ho, Knight of Swords, like I'm going to go in there, get this, win this. I'm going to be strong no matter what. I'm going to live by my beliefs. I'm going to live by my decisions, regardless of which one you've chosen, right? Because even if you choose the Seven of Wands, which it might be a little bit more volatile, a little bit more crazy, or up and down, it's to me it feels like you're going to be fine with that Strength card as the mitigating factor, right? That's what you're seeking in all of this. So you might have a little bit of harder ride with the Seven of Wands, but you're still going to get there. Does that make sense? Like, I don't feel as though there's a wrong choice in this decision. We have to believe, I don't want to set anybody up to believe that, oh my god, I can't choose the wrong thing, right? But I kind of think that if I was to choose one or the other, right, because I have an Aquarius moon, so that's kind of also where I'm looking at this from too, because this could also sort of pertain to me a little bit, slightly. I would want to go the route of the Ace of Pentacles, only because aces bring about newness, they're new beginnings, all of that. Pentacles is a much slower, more grounded energy, right? It may not come on immediately as immediately as we may want or feel as though we need, but I feel like there's more sort of opportunity and limitlessness with the Ace than there is with the Seven. Does that make sense? So when I'm looking at that Eight of Wands as the outcome, it's like whatever my Aquarians commit to, whatever choices they make in the month of September, by the end of the month, that Eight of Wands speaks to this idea of, okay, now the decisions have been made, this is the route we're going. We're taking it wholeheartedly no matter which route we've chosen, and away we go. Eight of Wands always has this sort of speed and this idea of travel, this idea of movement. I also want to say too, Eight of Wands to me sometimes can indicate like people coming together romantically. So some of you, there could be a link up romantically. Or at least the beginnings of starting to gear yourself towards heading towards that. Does that make sense? You know, like start sort of putting the plan into motion by month's end in September. That is your forecast. I hope that makes sense, you guys, and I hope that it gives you insight and, you know, you get an idea of what you guys can work with. There's a lot of air and fire going on in here. Even this Strength card is associated with Leo, which is fire. Air and fire are complementary, right? So I feel like for my Aquarians, you guys have like complementary energies at work that are both familiar and also feed off of one another, right? That being Wands energy, right? Because air feeds fire and fire burns up oxygen or air, right? So they are in need of one another and also kind of work well together. But I also feel like some of these lessons that could be learned in September are going to what's the word that I'm looking for? Like, I don't know if educate you is the right word, but graduate you in some way, teach you something rather profound, make you more well-rounded. That's kind of another feeling that I get in all of this. That's this 33. There's a master number here. We also have this 9, which is the closing of the sort of personal chapter around whatever it is we're doing that's causing us stress or worry. So I do feel like this is all in an effort to get back to that Strength card, right? Is that strength card number 11 too? Let me just see. Because that would be another master number. Hold on, let me put my glasses back on. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It is card number 11. So there's 2 master numbers in here. We've got one is our guide for the month and one is the driving force for the month. So I kind of feel like also too with master numbers, it feels like the lesson or what we're learning, what we're working on this month, even though it might feel a bit like struggle bus, confusing, I mean that's certainly the 9 of Swords in the center there, it's going to be impactful and profound. It's going to make a difference in the long run. So don't sort of take things for granted this month. And I think that's some of this focus card too, is like keeping in the present moment, paying attention, keeping that focus, and moving along. Because every decision that we make, even if it doesn't feel, if it even feels like annoying, troublesome, whatever, it's like it's teaching us something. It's getting us somewhere this month. I hope that makes sense, you guys. Alright, so that is my Aquarian Tarotscope for September. I am going to sign off now and get back on in a moment. I gotta feed the dogs and take them out, and then I'll come back and do Gemini. And then tomorrow will be the water signs, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Go over to my YouTube channel and subscribe to the channel. Share the video out if you'd like. All of that stuff. I greatly appreciate each and every one of you, and I look forward to seeing you next month. Alright, take care. Bye-bye.